Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. Let all of your friends and family know to subscribe so that you know when the Center of Hope is going live.
God bless you and welcome to Real Talk. If it's 9 p.m. on Monday night, it's time for Real Talk. I'm your co-host on tonight, Bishop Mitchell Taylor. I'm so glad that you've came into the virtual space on tonight. First thing I want you to do is hit that share button. Hit the share button right now. As soon as you come in, hit the share button so that the Real Talkers know all across America and around the globe that we are on the air on tonight. It's going to be live. It's going to be direct. And it's going to be a hard-hitting conversation on tonight as we're going into part 3. Somebody put that in the comment section. Part 3 of the biggest issues Christians are facing today. The 10 biggest issues, that's great, that Christians are facing today. and so listen, it's going to be, thank you. And listen, use that comment section. They just reminded me, Bishop, tell everybody, use the comment section. Yeah, thank you, Melinda. Part three. So we're getting ready. I don't want to take up much time because we got a lot of ground to cover, and I want to make sure we maximize the time. We have an hour. Let's get to it. Our co-host has been here waiting to get on screen, to get here with us on tonight. And so let's bring him on in. The Honorable, His Grace, Bishop Liston Page II.
Good evening, Real Talkers, and the Honorable Bishop Mitchell Gordon Taylor.
Well, listen, I'll take that. I'll take the honor. Well, listen, man, as always, it is always a pleasure for us to come together and chop it up for a few minutes for the Real Talkers out there tonight. I'm always excited about new folks that are coming on board and viewing with us on tonight. So I want everyone that's here, hit that share button and tag as many people as you can. Let them know that Real Talk is on the air. Now, okay, so we've had a very exciting weekend, Bishop, very exciting weekend. And I know you've been everywhere because people have been calling me and say, hey, your man just left here. He was in Greensboro. And I was just thinking about Bishop Washington, and I said, man, I got to give him a call. And then I'm thinking about him, and you there. See, I can't work.
In fact, he asked about you. We were supposed to call you one of the evenings after the service, and there was so much going on, during convocations. But
of course.
He sent his regards, and he talked very highly of you. And he says, normally when I see you, I see your twin. And when I see him, I see his twin. And he said, I can't believe y'all not together. I said, well, Bishop, he really didn't know I was coming.
I sure didn't, man. I might have snuck away, man. I love Bishop. Bishop know I love him, man. And I'll be there real soon. Powerhouse, I'm coming to the valley. So listen. So while you were down there, some craziness was happening here in New York City. And some craziness. We're going to talk about that just before we get into the last 3 or 4 things that are on our 10 biggest issues list. But yeah, man, Friday we had a young guy, 21 years of age, a social media influencer named Kai Cenat, has over 20 million followers on a social media platform called Twitch. Now, listen, I'm not cool enough, because if I was cool enough, I would know about Twitch. Matter of fact, I might be on Twitch, especially since my name is Mitch.
Listen, I know I'm not cool. I don't know Kai Cenat.
Okay, well, listen, I don't think anybody knew Kai Cenat before this Friday. Well, no, my fault. 20 million people knew who he was. I don't think that in our generation, we really tapped into that. And if I had Andrew here or Sean or one of your sons here, we could kind of chop it up with them on tonight, and they would know these guys, right off the bat. Anyway, he, on his social media platform, he said, I'm giving away PS5s and $100 gift cards and some gaming cartridges and whatnot. So they were expecting 300 or so people. 2,000 young people showed up.
Wow.
2,000 young people showed up. And you may be saying, well, why is that so significant? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked because one of the things that the church, one of the 10 issues that the church is facing today, that Christians are facing today, is technology and digital engagement, or the lack thereof. You know what I'm saying? And yes, so yes, I think that my team was talking about this this weekend about how important it is for us to engage young people that were born with these devices in their hand. You see little babies being pushed around in strollers, looking at iPhones and iPads. It's the new babysitter. It's the new form of entertainment. I was even reading an article today where a gentleman was suggesting that we need to create a safe space in our homes. And I was saying, the article interested me so much, I kept on reading. What do you mean a safe space in your home? Because our children, when they're in the world, they're exposed to social media, influencers, all kinds of things that are transmitted in so many different ways. When they come home, we should take their devices and create a space where there's family, where there's a time for communication with one with the other. And there's not a lot of that happening because kids don't even go out and play baseball and basketball like they used to because of the electronic entertainment that has their minds. And then some of this stuff is really not cool. I mean, it's really, putting ketchup, inside of mayonnaise jars and putting them back in the refrigerator, and they're on kids' entertainment platforms. And so our young children watch that stuff. Your grandchildren, my grandchildren, I don't know what they're able to see on these social media devices, but these things are there. And so you're wondering why kids are acting out, because they think that's cool from what they see in the digital space.
Well, so my daughter, Crystal, and my son-in-law, Otis, have really done, in my opinion, they have done a great job monitoring how much time my grandchildren are on their devices.
Good.
Because Crystal has a way of course, working for ministry. She can be at home with them probably more than the average parent can.
Right.
So she's there, and she has put in place a schedule where Kendall and Carter can be on their iPads, watching games. I don't think they've given them the access to kind of surf the net like that, but they do have games, and they monitor the games. And I think they've given them the liberty to be able to order the type of games or buy the games that they want, but that's within a particular reason. There's lines of demarcation to that boundaries, should I say? But Mitch, we live in a boundaryless society, and we should not be shocked. We should not be alarmed. We should be preparing ourselves for this type of warfare and this type of environment. And I think it goes back to something Paul said in Philippians chapter number 4, in verse number 6, if you let me read it. He says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let our request be made unto God, and the God of peace, which surpasses all of our understanding, will guard our hearts and our mind. I think it's going to be our job in this season to alleviate the anxiousness and the worry and the frustration of believers and tell them, you're going to have to just make a greater effort of putting things in place that facilitate your children seeing and being actively involved in things on the net or on their devices that are not going to corrupt or pervert or twist their thinking.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say that unfortunately we don't have as many parents that have the capacity to insert those kind of guardrails, because they're working parents. Maybe their children are in the care and consideration of someone else that may not have the same values or, protections that they might, execute for their children. And so there are, you said it earlier about boundaries, because we're living in a world, like you said last week, where there are no absolutes and everyone's a free agent. And so I think that that's where we have to be so careful. And, social media and influencers, let's just see this clip real quick. We'll come back real quick and we'll talk about it in a second.
On Friday, we will be doing a huge giveaway.
With those few words and a flyer with the location, word spread among the millions of subscribers. Attendees told they'll get PCs, PS5s, and $100 gift cards.
We gonna go crazy for New York, man.
It's really an influencer's world, and we're just living in it.
Washington Post tech columnist Taylor Lorenz knows it's something we'll all have to get used to, but says there's a much better way for influencers with millions of followers to get to meet their fans, using permits and possibly a cap for the amount of fans who can snag a freebie.
You have to have an RSVP system, ideally, because if you have millions and millions of followers online, you just say, hey, anybody come. You yourself don't know.
We went from 300 kids to a couple of thousand kids in minutes. We have to be responsible when we use this tool.
No permits were obtained for Friday's giveaway at Union Square Park. NYPD Chief Jeffrey Madry says its entertainment unit, which keeps an eye on events like this spreading through social media, was aware of the event, but not of its potential growth.
If we knew about this, we could have had the barriers out here, we could have police officers out here, we could have did this orderly.
Sanat now faces several charges, including at least 2 counts of inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. With millions of followers across all social media platforms, including Twitch, the 21-year-old has grown in popularity.
There's a team of people around influencers like this that really handle their business affairs, handle their public events, handle their press. I think those people, the buck falls with Kai, sure, but I think those people are to blame as well.
So Kai Cenat, 21 years, Bishop, talk to me. What did you see there? What did you learn there?
To be quite honest, I did not know the real power of social media, the popularity of social media influencer like that, and I'm not shocked, but I'm somewhat kind of confused and I'm conflicted, because if they could do something like that, why haven't we found a way to tap into a vein that gets 2,000 or 3,000 people to come receive something from the Lord? That's kind of how I look at it. I see it again as an outreach tool. What are they saying? What are they promoting? I mean, just giving away PS5s or whatever they are. It creates that type of buzz where you have 300, but 2,000 people show up. That means that we're not using the technology then to its optimum, to its maximum, that we can get the same type of response. Doesn't the Bible say that the children of darkness are much wiser than the children of light? And I think we have been attempting to pour this new wine, which is technology, maybe into old constructs, old wineskins. And maybe we need to find out where the new wineskins are. That's what I gather from it. Not just the tragedy, but I gather the innovativeness to pull something like this off that they didn't even expect. What are they doing that they're getting that type of response and they're not prepared, to secure people? That's what I get from it.
Right. And I think you're absolutely right. And, BeliefNet.com, big shout out to them. I've been using some of their resources. So I want to just give credit there. They say that technology and digital engagement is a big weakness for us. Now watch this. The rapid advancement of technology presents challenges and opportunities. Churches must adapt to the digital age, leveraging technology for worship, discipleship, and community building. Worship, discipleship, and community building. Let me say it again. Worship, discipleship, and community building. I want to shout out my sister from East Orange, New Jersey, Deborah Chapman. Bless you. That's Abdul's sister and my sister on tonight. I see she joined us. So, the rapid advancement of technology has left us in the proverbial dust. And we can't live there anymore if we're going to take this gospel, the Elon Gillian, as you say so prolifically, where? Around the globe. How is it going to get there? Through technology. Who's going to execute it? We are.
Yeah, I think you've tapped into something there. I think we've tapped into, if we can get people on board with this digital divide, but I think, in my opinion, I think what causes the apprehension for us even now is seeing how slowly people have come back into the physical, tactile, sacred space because we have provided them with another option, which is the virtual platforms. So I think on one hand, we still have not adjusted to the idea that, and to the reality, should I say, that going forward, ministry is going to have to be in a hybrid context.
Thank you.
You're going to have to be able to provide this digital presentation along with in-person, physical, tactile presentation. And they're both going to have to mirror each other in terms of excellence. And that's just where we are. And I think once we can do that, we will see people coming back in greater numbers, in my opinion.
Well, Bishop, I think you do it so well. And I think that your church in Patterson should be a national model for this. Because if you are doing it correctly, the electronic church will complement the in-person worship experience. Because let's face it, this was good for the pandemic.
It was.
But even Aristotle said, all men by nature are what? Social. We have to have this social interaction. And then particularly in the Black church, the last 100 years or so, when you talk about Pentecostalism, but go back even as it was born out of oppression, right? And so it was the central source of our liberation. Even if it wasn't pragmatic down here, it was heaven. Everything was, it'll be all right. It's, I'll see you on the other side, and so on and so forth. And so we can't erase that whole segment of our experience. So my point is, I said that to say that a lot of what we do is born in, we put it in emotion, our passion, our seek, our, we just, anything we put our self into, we're worshipers, we're praisers, we're, you know what I'm saying, Bishop?
Yeah, I think community is important, and we can go. We don't have to go back 100 years. We don't have to go back to colonialism and slavery. We really need to go back to the book of Acts, chapter number 2, right? Verse number 40, 46. It says, "So continuing daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, they ate food with gladness and simplicity of heart, praising God and having favor with all people. And the Lord added to the church daily those who were being saved." I mean, it's scripture. The church didn't start in a cathedral. The church didn't start in a basilica. The church didn't start in a temple or a synagogue. The church started with them going house to house in an upper room, being unified, being monolithic, being connected, being relational. So as well as we may have done the virtual platform for 3 years, that's you and I and everyone else that have embraced it. We may have presented an excellent program, and people have been blessed. People have joined our church because of social media. I've got members from all over the world: South Africa, Ghana, Australia, Canada, all parts of the US. I've got members now, but it does not replace house to house, breaking bread, physical touch, tactile relationship. It doesn't replace. They had all things in common. They sold what they had and made sure everybody else had the same things in common. And you can only do that in an in-person environment. But because we live in this digital age, we're going to have to embrace both of them and do both of them to their maximum with excellence. And I think, I truly believe, until we do that, we're not going to see the type of impact that others are seeing because they've tapped into something.
Yeah. And I mean, Bishop, we have so many challenges that are compounded in the Black church, I might add, because of where we come from. And where we come from creates some hurdles that we have to overcome that our white counterparts do not. It also goes back to the monopoly game, being free to play, but not giving the resources to buy, starting, algebraically 50% below, ground zero, so to speak. And, having those coupled with everything else and all the other dynamics that urban communities and urban dwellers have to deal with trying to get to the middle class and beyond. And we have those people that have broken out and they have made it. And I believe there are people watching us now tonight, real talkers tonight, that are one idea, one word, one touch, one turn from being the next multi-millionaire with the idea and the vision. And I believe that we're anointed for this. And some of us are not, embracing it, but I believe it's for us. There's another thing that happened. And I want you to speak to this. What about the brawl in Montgomery? The security guard on the bank of the river. I mean, on the dock of the Esplanade was telling one of the guys that had his boat docked that he had to move his boat. when he told the guy he had to move his boat, you know, the guy didn't appreciate it. He punched him in the face. And, you know, that's what, did you see this?
I have not seen it. I've heard it. But it just, to me, it just goes back to the climate and the environment that we live in. Everybody is on edge. We're out of the pandemic. We're back moving around freely, but people are still on edge. People are really suffering from trauma, mental health issues, and trauma is idiosyncratic to each individual. It does not play itself out the same in everyone. But one thing is common. People's frustrations or their patience levels are not what they were in the past. People are not taking anything off of anybody anymore. A funny story last night, I get off the air. You was on my program last night. I get off the air. And
I really enjoyed it.
I'm a little hungry, Mitch. And I don't frequent McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's. I'm not against those places, but I don't frequent those places. And last night, it's late. I said, you know what? I'm hungry. I don't want to fix anything. Jumped in the car, zipped to McDonald's, all night McDonald's, right? I get in the line, order my food. It got 2 lines going, order my food, and someone in the other lane ordered theirs. But, you know, you order your food, then you move ahead. And the next person orders, they move ahead. But when you got 2 lines, they move ahead, next guy moves ahead, you move ahead. You know, it's supposed to be orderly, right? So I order my food, and the guy in the other lane who ordered his food after me zips around in front of me in the lane. Now, I am furious, and I am going, as only Listing Page could do it. I'm going off. I zip out of the line, go into a parking spot, jump out my car, and I proceed to go to him and say, you jumped in front of me. And this is no exaggeration. The Holy Ghost said, what are you doing? What? You just preached 3 sermons. What are you doing? The people were blessed. What are you doing? You know what I did? He said, I'm sorry. I said, no, sir. No problem. Because he was afraid. I walked to the window. I paid for my food and his.
Oh, wow.
I paid for my food and his. And wow. He said, no, I paid for his food. I got in my car, got my food, and he's sitting there in his car dumbfounded. He said, oh my God, thank you so much. I said, no. I said, I didn't mean to get out of character. I said, it's been a long, long, long day. That was my way of paying penance for my behavior and for my attitude, because it's not that deep. At the end of the day, I'm going home saying, it ain't that deep. I'm going to get into an altercation behind a fish sandwich and a large fry.
No.
But I think that we as believers, we're going to have to check ourselves, because we were in the pandemic too. We were traumatized too. We may be teaching and preaching and leading people, but we went through the same trauma they went through. And it shows out, it manifests in different ways. And I have just decided I cannot allow my trauma or my frustration or my anxiousness or something that I'm not addressing push me over the edge that I'm out of character and something tragic could happen.
Wow. So Bishop, you just set the stage, because, you know, control and discipline is something that we really need, you know, especially in this last quarter of 2023. And
Correct.
What happened in Montgomery, I want to take a chance here and just show you a little clip here. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, listen, we censored a lot of it, but what was happening was this was a security guard. The gentleman had his boat docked in the wrong place. He went to him kindly and nicely and said, "Sir, you have to move your boat. You have to move your boat." His I guess his boat mate, his shipmate, saw them talking, and he just bum rushed them, as you saw, and started this brawl. Well, all the people jumped on this one little poor security guard, and I guess other people that were standing around, if you would have saw the rest of the clip, about 8 or 9 other people came. Black people came, because these were white people that beat up on this black guy. Black people came and then went with him to get the people that didn't move the boat, that had just got finished stomping it out, and they'd be angry, explosive, dangerous, demonic. I mean, rage. It's I took an 18-hour safety class a couple of weeks ago, and it really taught. The class was really about discipline. Safety is discipline.
Mitch, we say what we want, but that Proverbs 25, that verse 28, that's a powerful, small little verse. It says, whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. It's something about discipline. And I got to be honest. I've got to be very honest. There's some things that happen that you don't expect. And before you know it, you're also escalating the climate. And we don't always de-escalate situations well. We kind of add fuel to the fire. If we really want to be honest, it doesn't take much for us to go off.
Right.
Let me talk about me. I know me.
I got you.
It doesn't take much for me to go off. I mean, to go off. I mean, to go from zero. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. My daddy, who is probably the most humble, reserved, control person in the world. I'll never forget it. He's at my church, and something happened. And a light flickering, or something on the carpet, there was something minute. I went off. I mean, I went from 0 to 100, right? And went back and sat down by him, and he looked at me and said, "You got a problem." My dad said, "Son, you got a problem." He said, "I've never seen anyone that can be so happy one moment and go to rage."
You went to Flipville.
To the next month. But my point is, nobody wants to be honest and put themselves out there. I'll do it for the real talkers. I understand.
Well, you did it. You did it
I
tonight.
understand. It just take. I mean, it's not planned. I mean, you don't go into these situations saying, I'm gonna flip. It's like a switch that goes off in your mind, and it has been exasperated because of what we all have just come out of. We don't want to deal with racism anymore. The killings, the police brutality, the injustices, racism, classism, sexism. People are sick and tired of it now, and they're not going to put up with it anymore. Donald Trump in office, and the type of things and the shenanigans we saw going on in the White House, in government, in politics. People's fuses are short.
You're right. You're right. I mean, Donald Trump, Joe Biden.
Yes.
Hey, listen. We just switch them out for whatever. Listen, it's the same thing. Same thing. I mean, come on. Listen, I haven't seen any material change, in the last 20 years. I mean, that's really different on the ground. You know what I mean? It's just, we're just changing partners and what have you. I think what you're saying is so true, Bishop. People are living with short fuses. And
Triggers. Man,
it's crazy.
Triggers.
Yeah. So one of the biggest issues, 10 biggest issues facing Christians today, I might want to add to the list. Short fuses.
What triggers us?
That's
what.
Yeah. Short. What triggers us? I mean, but my point is, we're living with a hair trigger. If you have a gun, those gun owners. I'm a gun owner. I'm a proud gun owner, and I have a license to have a gun. But my point is, when you're cleaning and you're adjusting your gun, you can adjust it to have a hair trigger. In other words, you just touch it, it's going off. That's why you don't want to touch that trigger unless you're ready to pull it. Hair trigger. That's what attitudes are like today. They're flaring. They got a hair trigger. Doesn't take much.
I know myself. I cannot be a proud gun carrier. I could not be one that carried a firearm. I know me. I know me. I love God. I'm saved. I speak in tongues. I worship. I dance. I praise the Lord. But this attitude, these dispositions from time to time, I don't always have the best control. I'm not the best model of take it easy. And I'm being honest with you. Everybody must be honest about themselves and what they would do. Man, you would read on the news that I'm held up in some warehouse in New York somewhere after I done shot up a whole section of. I mean, that is the day we live in. And I don't have a demon. I'm not demonic. I understand certain things can push us into a space. And I'm going to tell you the truth, Mitch. That's the reason why I don't get into a lot of conflicts. I don't allow people to take me there. I don't want to have. Hey, you call me what you want. I'm not going to go back with you. No problem. Because there was a day, and you know that, there was a day. Bishop, pastor, whatever.
Right.
We're going to handle this with no problem. But it's not worth it. It's not worth your example. It's not worth what you model. It's not worth who we say we're supposed to be. And we got to control ourselves. It's hard. We got to do it.
I got 3 numbers that I want you to play anytime you get in trouble. 911. That's it. Listen, 911. Listen, you see a suspicious character in front of your house, you ain't got to be Superman. Call 911.
That's right.
You say, hey, you see somebody looking in your car window? You ain't got to be Superman. Call 911. Listen, and guess what? And if they don't come, just wait till they break the window and then just call your insurance company. I mean, my point is, it's not that I'm not losing my freedom. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, okay? I'm not doing that, okay? I'm not losing my freedom over something that is material, and I've got it insured anyway, and I can get it back anytime.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. Listen,
Yeah.
if I was a gun carrier, when they carjacked me, I'm telling you, without a shadow of a doubt, one of them 16-year-olds and one of
Lord.
those
Oh, Lord. No, Bishop, listen to you.
That's but I know me. Why get into that? Why get into that?
You're right.
Why put myself in that situation?
It's such a scary thing.
You don't have to. You know, I'm a big SWAT watcher. You know, they got SWAT on Netflix, and in one of the episodes, one of the new SWAT policemen, in fact, she was a woman. They got this stakeout, and it's this 15-year-old girl with this assault rifle shooting at them, and they had a clear shot. She had a clear shot to shoot her, but before she can get shot, I think Hondo tackled her, and they were told she's 15 years old. And it just took this woman policeman. She had to go see a psych, a doctor, and get a psych evaluation because she said, I almost shot, rightfully, a child. That's where I am. I know where I am. And there's some things I don't want to be put in position to shame God, shame myself, shame the name of my family. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I've learned, and I am learning, control your spirit. Bring yourself under control. Find a way not to let anything take you where you're going to regret when you finally come back down to yourself. Just find a way not to put yourself in those situations. That's how I feel about it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, listen, this is certainly, I mean, I was certainly taken back when I saw how those persons exploded on the pier, and that fight broke out, and it became a black against white.
Yep.
And it was terrible. And it's terrible. In Montgomery, Alabama, Bishop Brian Keith Williams posted on his social media page, it's 2023, not 1955.
Crazy.
You know, yeah, it's not 1955. This is not the day where you're just going to beat up on somebody because you can. People are not going to, they're not, like you said, they're short fuses. Temperament is really not, you know, where it used to be, you know. And so anyway, and to that point, I think then we as, you know, believers, if we want to bring it back to this, you know, have to have an extra layer. You know, we have to have an extra layer, you know what I mean, of whatever it takes to navigate this system that we're in the system, but we're not of the system. You know what I mean? And so how we, you know, and let me just say this before I forget. Thank you for sharing what you shared tonight, because very few people would be that candid to share that moment. And, you know, I think that, you know, people need to hear that, you know, that happens. That happens. That happened. But you know what? Thank God that you know, the Holy Spirit, you know, said, hey, come on. I mean, I've been there too. I've been there too. So many times I can't even count the times where I felt horrible. I'm like, man, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I go through that? And so eventually we mature and we take discipline as serious as it really is. So thank you for sharing that. It blessed me. I don't know about the other real talkers, but that blessed me. Now, I don't know how that's going to bode on your reputation post this broadcast, but but listen, so the last few things that we didn't touch, we did touch biblical literacy or illiteracy. We did touch that, but the three that we didn't touch and we did highlight it tonight was technology and digital engagement, and how we as believers can do a better job in using technology and digital engagement as a tool and a resource to take the gospel around the world, right? And also to be a tool to help us become disciples and make disciples. Because, we can get so much done now where, going to a class and sitting in a class is good, but sometimes you can get a lot more done if all the classmates or people participating can take advantage of this space. Mm-hmm. Like, give an example. Wednesday morning, I'll have, 50, 60 people that'll join us on Zoom. And we'll all have these little boxes, as if we're all in this space, but we're in our own individual homes and we're worshiping God, and I'm preaching a word. And that word, man, that word blesses me. It takes me through the whole day, and so it's, that medium is really just a secret weapon that we can use to build our faith. So I just think that it's such a strong opportunity for us to exploit and maximize.
I think we're so comfortable with the in-person experience. We're so comfortable with call and the response of an audience that even though we have created these platforms, that people have created platforms and vehicles and outlets to do ministry in the cyber world of the digital space, because we are built and wired for community and connection, and because we do like tactile and kinesthetic style interaction, this for us has become an option. It has not become the main entree, but it is not until this becomes a hybrid entree where we put as much diligence in the cyberspace as we do in the physical space, that this really becomes second nature. Now, for you and I, we talk about this all the time off camera. We have no problem living in these squares. I have no problem looking at a red dot or a green dot or whatever dot it is based on the camera. We don't have that as an impediment for my ministry and for my outreach. I love tactile worship because I'm a church person. I'm a churchman. I love the saints. I love the interaction. I love being in physical worship that you can experience out here in the cyberspace. But we take this presentation as equally as serious as when we stand in the presence of people in a physical environment. We prepare before we come out here because we want this experience to be one that is life-changing. We want a life-changing experience in the physical space, but we also want a life-changing encounter in the digital cyberspace. And that has to be intentional. So I don't think until we really wrap our minds around the whole concept that we have to do work now. The ministry is work now. It's not, we can't put this on autopilot anymore. We're going to have to go back to some grassroots ideas of evangelism, and we're going to have to do it even out here. We reach more people out here many times than we do in a building. So I think that until we're able to just come to grips with God has allowed us to find other creative ways to do ministry, along with how we're doing ministry, we're going to always be behind that digital divide, that digital footprint. We're always going to be waiting opposed to making things happen.
I totally agree with you. And I think that two of the last issues that we didn't deal with tonight, and we'll maybe revisit on next week. And I got a question from a real talker, and I promised that I would present this to you. And before we got off air tonight, not that you're going to answer it tonight, we're just going to think about it. But the one of the biggest challenges facing Christians today is family stability, and that kind of intersects not only in 4 different ways, but it intersects in so many different ways. And family stability, family instability, family transition, family identity, family love. It's just all of that, and maintaining our presence. I think all of that. And then the question that was asked of me is sexuality a portal for transfer of spirits? Is sexuality, the act of sexuality, intercourse, is that, I gave a short answer to that question, but I promise that we may not get to it tonight, but that we definitely will try to address it on next week. You know what I mean? And what have you. So just things for us to think about as we're coming back on next week. And, I kind of, thought about, a study I did on wine and spirits, alcohol, spirits, wine and spirits, you know what I mean? So there's, and I think that, there may be some merit in getting some other thought on, that transmission process, and how we've seen that happen, and so on and so forth. And, I just think it's very important. Sexuality is, I think, one of the deepest forms of spirituality. And I'll explain that, more next week when we get into our dialogue. But I think that, you got to be very careful with that. That is a very protected space that we have been very unprotective in guarding. And I say that, not as an authority on the subject, but as an observer and a participant, in life.
If I had to lend something tonight, and you said we're not going to really deal with it tonight, but if I was going to lend something tonight, I would come from 2 texts of scripture. They both would come out of 1 Corinthians. The first would be 1 Corinthians 6, and not having a lot of time to unpack it. But verse 15 says, "Do you not know that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them members of a harlot?" So that there is, that's when you start talking about the soul tie and having intimacy or connection with something that is not covenantal. So that there is an impartation there based on Paul's presentation. And that verse was more of a question for them to start thinking about in terms of their behavior. And then I would go to chapter 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 5, and I would read start at verse number 9, where it says, I wrote to you in my epistle not to keep company with sexually immoral people. Yet I did not mean with the sexually immoral people of the world, or with the covetous, extortioners, idolaters, since then you would need to go out of the world. But I write written to you not to get company with anyone named a brother who is sexually immoral. So you got a couple of things going on there with Paul. Paul is saying, I did not tell you not to keep company with people who have these issues who are outside of the church, because you're going to always come in contact with this type of behavior outside of the church. He said, but I wrote to you not to have fellowship with those who call themselves a part of the church that do these type of things. So there's a lot of issues there. Of course, we can't unpack the text. We'll do it next week, but that's something for people to consider, that sexuality and covenantal intimacy, all of those things are important. And then I conclude on this. It was Proverbs 31, the words of King Lemuel's mother. And she said to King Solomon, Lemuel, another designation for Solomon, but she said, do not give your strength to women. Okay? What she didn't say, don't give your strength to your wife. Don't give your strength to anything outside of covenant. And giving strength to women is a Hebraic sexual euphemism. Don't have all of these multiple relationships and connections that are not meaningful. It's going to leave a lasting impression. That's basically what she's saying. But we can unpack all that next week.
Sexuality, soul ties, covenantal intimacy. Sexuality, soul ties, covenantal intimacy. Thank you for giving us that quick explanation on tonight. Listen, Real Talkers, you heard it tonight. We tried to put a quart into a pint. Bishop Page, you've done it again. Thank you for bringing the Real Talkers down a real pathway to understanding. And guess what? We just chopping it up. A couple of old guys trying to stay relevant.
Why we gotta be old?
Hey, listen. Yeah, I was with Bishop Eric McDaniel and this weekend, and so he said, "Wow, you've really accepted your gray." I said, "What else are you supposed to do?" And I realized, he has not accepted, because he's not gray yet, for whatever purposes that may be. And so, but I've accepted my gray, and I realize that, when I watch TV and I see the movies and the series on TV, and I see these young actors, I said, these are children acting. No, these are the right age where people start acting.
So do you watch the new channel? It's not a new channel, but I discovered it during the pandemic. It was called Meet TV, and it's memorable entertainment channel, and all they play is the classics, the Munsters, Starsky and Hutch, the originals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Beretta, the originals. Cannon, Mannix. Now, these shows, most of the Real Talkers who are not our age have not heard of these shows.
Right.
But these are classic shows. Adam 12, listen, and Gunsmoke, Bonanza, the Waltons. Man, FBI. Listen, I find myself Wagon Train, Rawhide, when Clint Eastwood was 20 years old. I mean, it's amazing how those things my dad watched
That's right.
I'm watching that. That's right. Hollis, Andy Griffin. I mean,
That's right. Perry Mason.
Perry Mason, Pettigo Junction. I mean, I'm watching these things now. Twilight Zone, Odd Couple, and I'm enjoying them. I'm really enjoying them.
That's old. Listen, that's old people TV. Now watch this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get Me TV to be a Real Talk sponsor, so we can go ahead and promote them the right way. But listen, I want all the Real Talkers tonight. If this program has blessed you, listen, be a blessing to us so that we could pay the staff, take care of the team, and keep on bringing you great entertainment, great information, great spiritual empowerment. And let me share something with you. A merry heart doeth good like medicine. So all of you scuba divers that are saying, oh, entertainment, what are you talking about? Yeah, a merry heart doeth good like medicine. Jesus taught in Proverbs, all right? There are ways to serve, and that's what we're doing. We're exploiting those ways to serve so that we can bring people to where we are, and that's to live forever. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. All right,
Mitch,
Wednesdays.
I believe the Real Talk is going to give tonight. I never get into the giving aspect of the program, but I really believe the Real Talkers tonight are going to give, and they're going to bless this platform. And I know it's after Sunday when they have, extended themselves on Sunday in giving.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe this is a valuable tool. It's a 1 hour pill, vitamin, whatever you want to call it. For some people, it may be an enema. It may be something that cleans you out.
Right.
But I think it's valuable. Castor oil, whatever. But I do believe it is valuable, and I think people are going to give tonight, and I think they're going to really continue to see the value in this. And let me say this: you don't miss something that is important and really significant in your life until it's gone. And then after it's gone, we want to talk about how great it was, when we could sustain it longer if we would just take care of it. So I'm in hopes tonight that the Real Talkers are going to sow and be extremely liberal on tonight.
Yep. Well, the ways to give are on the screen. If you want to give, Cash App, $ the Kohi Nation, Bishop Mitchell G. Taylor. We should add that on the bottom because there are a lot of scammers out there and trying to, ghost our apps and whatnot. Zelle, KohiGives@gmail.com. That's one that you can never scam. KohiGives@gmail.com. Zelle, they got their security down on lock. And then PayPal as well, KohiGives@gmail.com. And we will make sure that, thank you, Mother Sutton, for your seed on tonight. Thank you. That's a real talker. Thank you, Mother Sutton. Mother Carol Sutton, thank you so much. So listen, guys, let the Lord use you on tonight. I think a great seed would be a $30 seed on tonight, but don't let me tell you, because somebody might want to sow $300. Somebody might want to sow $3,000. Somebody might want to sow $3. Listen, whatever you sow on tonight, sow it from your heart and sow it with the sincerity that God has blessed you with it. School of the Bible Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and then Friday night encounter. Will there be an encounter this Friday?
Yes, I'm going to be on location. I think I'm going to be in, I think I'm be in Detroit on Friday night, but I'll be live. I'll be live there. I think we're going to be in Fort Lauderdale together, I think, this week.
We'll be at the convocation for Revival Faith.
Exactly.
Bishop Freddie Marshall. Freddie
Washington.
Freddie Washington from Penns Grove, New Jersey, and Apostle Janice Dillard. Okay. And so, I got the easy job. I'll be doing the morning session. You got the heavy lifting at night.
No, trust me. But you know what's amazing? morning sessions are so refreshing
Oh
because
man.
the people that are coming to the morning session want to be there. They're coming
Well,
there intentionally to receive something that the night worshipers do not always come looking to receive.
well, we experienced that. We experienced that at the convocation.
That's right.
At the Greater Highway Convocation. Now all of the night speakers were excellent.
Correct.
But that morning glory, well, both morning glories, the early one,
yeah,
I forgot that gentleman's name, and then the other gentleman, Eric Mitchell, that was 12 o'clock. There was one guy at 9 or 8, and then the gentleman, Eric Mitchell.
Bishop Roscoe Williams was at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, right.
Bishop Eric Mitchell did the communion service. You had LaDamian Rains did an 8 a.m. service as well. I mean, it was just tremendous. The whole week, the day sessions, Bishop Carlton Facey was teaching. They had all these different practitioners that were teaching. It was really a great conference. So my point is, convocation is really supposed to be about instruction and learning during the day. The night sessions are supposed to be a time of celebration, but you're supposed to be receiving that real instruction and impartation during the day to take back home to your local churches. So I love the day sessions. I really do.
Let me just acknowledge some of the real talkers that are giving on tonight. Thank you, Alicia Davis. Thank you, Barbara Taylor. Thank you, Phoebe Collier. Thank you, Mother Gray. Thank you, Sharon Moore. Thank you, Michelle Smith. Thank you, Corinne Haynes. Thank you, Claudette Simmons on tonight. All the real talkers that have sown. I just wanted to make sure if I missed some folks, please forgive me. I know Mother Sutton, you gave early on. You started us off. Thank you so much for your seed on tonight. All right, listen, I don't want to make folks happy twice, happy when we got on and happy when we got off. So I'm just grateful that we were able to share on tonight. Those of you that are watching this on the repeat after it's aired live, thank you so much for joining us. And please sow into the ministry and let it be a blessing in your life, because what you make happen for somebody else, God will make happen for you. Bishop, any final words?
No, how can I say it? How I always close out. God gives his best to those that give their best to him. So listen, the best is yet to come.
Wow, that's powerful. Well, walk with the King today and be a blessing. See you next week.